It's no secret that Colorado has grown over the past decade. What often isn't talked about is how that growth impacts our changing climate and the efforts to slow that change down. Inmates call prison home, but should we consider it their home for census purposes? Just when you think you've seen everything in Colorado's mountains, this pair pedals in. And the dudes who created South Park say they have a deal to save Casa Bonita. What needs saving next? Or what piece of nostalgic Colorado should we bring back? Don't say Kyle Clark because he just has the night off. I'm Steve Stager. This is Next. Colorado's population boomed in the last decade. We can anticipate the gripes about crowds, traffic, and a changing state. But today we're focusing on climate. Anusha Roy takes a look at how more people living here is impacting Colorado's changing climate.
New census data puts a number to how popular Colorado has become. The state expanded by more than 700,000 people from 2010 to 2020, according to an analysis by 9 Wants to Know. Denver and El Paso counties grew by more than 100,000 people in that same time frame. All of that is putting pressure on systems that were already stressed.
Our transportation systems, our housing systems, food systems, water, energy.
Consider this. As cost of living goes up, we're seeing more developments further out, which can mean longer commutes and more emissions. It also means more people settling down in the wildlife-urban interface, which becomes a problem with wildfires. When it comes to water, resources from the Colorado River were already overpromised from a pact dating back to the 1920s. Couple that with warming temperatures and drought.
Less water than we used to, and we're adding more population on top of that.
So what does this mean moving forward? The Alliance Center, a group that works on sustainability, says that this is a chance for innovation and development.
Design cities of the future where you can co-locate, where you work, where you live, where you buy and grow your own food.
And climate experts say, let's learn some lessons from the pandemic.
If they're driving less because they can work remote, that's going to be something that will help.
So when it comes to water, which is such a big question, Denver Water is actually working to expand some of their reservoirs in and around Denver. The idea, Steve, is to create more water security for up to 1.5 million people. And that is just scratching the surface of the things that they're working on right now.
And you talk about remote work, but there are a lot of people who don't have the ability to work remotely. What about them?
Yeah, so that's definitely the distinction, right? If you can work remote, the climate experts are saying, what are the options to continue doing that, knowing that some people are essential workers? But also, people like the Alliance Center, they're looking forward to incentivizing developers, plumbers, electricians to think a little bit more green and environmentally friendly, especially with more people moving here. And of course, what we've all talked about, the new developments and the retrofitting of old buildings as well.
This is going to be a topic we continue to talk about over and over again. Anusha Roy, thank you. Now, as if the census isn't confusing enough, a certain group of Colorado residents will count as living in one area for one purpose and a completely different part of Colorado for another. Confusing, right? Well, there are more than 14,000 inmates in state prisons. So is their home their prison or where they lived before prison? Politics guy Marshall Zellinger shows us why the answer is both. Colorado has 14,000 inmates who before prison lived somewhere else in the state. Those 14,000 inmates now live in these 12 counties.
But they are counted at the time for redistricting purposes as if their cell was their residence. And that's what we defined as prison gerrymandering.
Democratic State Senator James Coleman sponsored a bill last year that became law, which requires the state to track where inmates lived before prison for redistricting, which happens every 10 years.
Considering that the average state prison sentence is 3 years, but redistricting lasts for a decade, we believe that prison gerrymandering is a practice that degrades, quite frankly, the representation we provide in our democracy. If prisoners were counted in their last known address, El Paso County would grow by 2,400 people, Adams County 1,600 more, Arapahoe almost 1,400, Denver 1,300 people. The counties where the prisoners are housed would mainly lose population. Fremont County, home to 7 state prisons, would lose 4,800 people. That's 10% of its population. Crowley County would lose 2,800 people, almost half of its population.
We obviously want it where they are. That doesn't help us much, as you could tell. One of our districts are one of the biggest in the state, but we'd still like to keep as many numbers here as we can.
Roy Elliott is a Republican commissioner in Crowley County, which has the second highest in-state inmate population.
Some of them, they get released, they don't necessarily go back to where they originally came from when they go into community corrections or parole.
Yesterday, the commission responsible for making Colorado's 7 congressional districts into 8 voted to count prisoners as residents of the county of the prison. Today, the commission responsible for redrawing Colorado's 100 state House and state Senate districts did the opposite. So even though it's a state law to have this list of former addresses for inmates for redistricting purposes, the Colorado Supreme Court this year essentially made a ruling on a separate issue that told the legislature to stay out of the business of the independent redistricting process. And that's why we have these conflicting decisions that in one situation, prisoners can be counted in the prison in that county, and then in this other situation, they can be counted as where they previously lived.
But at the end of the day, you're talking about 14,000 people. Is that enough to make an actual impact on one of these maps?
I've never drawn a map, but yeah, if you take out, like I said, 10% of a population for Fremont County or half the population of Crowley County is part of a large House and Senate district. But if you take some numbers out and push them somewhere else, it could cause redrawing of lines in a different way that it is impactful, and we'll find out when these redistricting committees provide a new map.
Maybe you should take up cartography. That'd be fun, right? Draw a little map here and there. Marshall Zellinger, thank you. Now, CDOT's top brass got some questions today about that mudslide that never closed Independence Pass, even though the map apps and CDOT's website said it did. We told you about internal emails yesterday that seemed to show state employees wanted the pass to appear closed because of the heavy I-70 detour traffic. But it came across as a mudslide. So we asked CDOT how they expect the public to trust their alerts from now on.
That wasn't the right decision. They made a mistake. They apologized for it. And, in rapid moving situations, mistakes happen. But, I don't think that it was the kind of thing that's sort of systemically representative of anything broader.
So we still don't know who pushed the mudslide button as a reason for the closure. Other emails indicate that CDOT tried to show the passes closed multiple times this season, even though the conditions there were fine. Tonight's next question comes from a few of you, including Eileen and John. They want to know what's being done with the debris and mud from the mudslide in Glenwood Canyon as crews haul it out. Where's it being taken? So we asked CDOT.
So we currently have about 4 locations where we're removing debris to. 2 of those locations are actually what we call permitted gravel pits, if you will. And so they're areas where we'll actually process material. And we have one of those on the .0 side, which is the eastbound side of the canyon. And we have one of those near Colorado Highway 82 across from Aspen Glen. So that's between Glenwood Springs and Carbondale. The team actually is taking material there, they're leveling it, and then they'll go in and reseed those areas so it starts to look more just like the natural landscape. The other 2 areas that we're using are our staging areas. We have one of those near Canyon Creek, which is exit 109. So a little bit west of the canyon. And then we have another area inside Glenwood Canyon. We call it the Mile Point 119. Where we're also storing material.
It's an awful lot of mud. Tracy Trulove says that some of that material will end up getting reused in some form or fashion. She mentioned that CDOT's been taking some of the leftover rock material from the Grand Avenue Bridge project a few years ago. They're going to use that to rebuild in Glenwood Canyon. If you have a question you'd like answered, we've got you. Record a video or audio message of yourself asking that question and then email it to next@9news.com. By this point, there is absolutely no need to tell you this. You've heard it all around town already, but what the heck? Sounds like Casa Bonita has been saved. South Park creators Trey Parker and Matt Stone told the governor this morning in a weird interaction that they've agreed to buy the restaurant. They'll obviously have to wait for the results of the restaurant's bankruptcy litigation first. They announced this after months of people holding rallies and fundraisers to try to save the iconic spot on Colfax. Really impressive effort there. Certainly got me wondering today about the other endangered and extinct Colorado spots that beg for a savior like this one. And Dane Bernenson runs Axles, a Colorado-centric clothing store chain. He sells shirts and other old nostalgic Colorado places on those shirts. Places like Casa Bonita or Skate City. So we asked him about the importance of preserving some of these classic Colorado and Denver landmarks.
To see some of those individual places get replaced with, a chain or a franchise is unfortunate. I mean, it's also, the nature of businesses, and you can't deny that. But the more you can keep, I think the more so you really keep kind of the roots of Denver. I mean, the historic vibe of it, and what, us that know and lived in Denver for a long time, how we've come to think of it.
It's like Marshall's Closet. So I asked around on Twitter today, what Colorado spot or thing would you like to see resurrected or saved? By far, my favorite response came from Connor McCormick Cavanaugh from Westward, who said the Rockies. But kidding aside here, I heard from plenty of other people talking about Skate City, Celebrity Sports Center, Heritage Square, even White Fence Farm. So I'll ask you the same question. Now that Casa Bonita seems to be all good, what should we preserve or bring back? Use the hashtag HeyNext or email next@9news.com and we'll share your responses at the end of the show. Well, Kyle, of course, is gone today, but it doesn't mean our Word of Thanks microgiving campaign doesn't continue while he's away. This week, we're raising money for the Colorado Pet Pantry, and on his way out of town, Kyle provided an update on your progress so far.
Hi everybody, coming to you from aboard RTD's highly efficient A-Line, just to say thank you for your support of this week's Word of Thanks campaign for Colorado Pet Pantry. You've raised more than $50,000 already for that pet food bank that operates across our state, making sure that low-income pet owners are never in danger of giving up their pet just because they can't afford pet food. If you want to get in on this week's goodness, text THANKS to 303-871-1491 and I'll send you the link to donate. What a wonderful thing you've done this week together for Colorado Pet Pantry. Time to go catch a plane.
And there's a lot of, wow, I've never seen that before.
It's hard to get that reaction up in the high country, but one couple's teamwork was turning heads on the Colorado Trail. And we took your Friday good news to go and sat by Sloan's Lake to enjoy it. Next.
The moment we have all been waiting for, right? a little bit of blue sky. Did you see it early this morning? Wow, what a relief. We still will be monitoring a little bit of smoke and also high levels of ozone as we head toward the weekend. So kind of keep this in mind. If you have those respiratory issues, just kind of hunker down indoors. Scattered thunderstorms moving in across the high country. Some of that monsoonal moisture making a comeback to our burn scars. We'll be monitoring that tonight and possibly one or two of those storms making their way here to Denver. Overnight into early tomorrow morning, there's that hazy sunshine. It returns. The storms should be few and far between up into the high country and pretty dry here in Denver for your Saturday afternoon and evening. Daytime highs back into the 90s we go. 92 here in the city with 70s and 80s up into the mountains. Better chance for storms on Sunday. We'll do it all over again Wednesday with a big cool off by the end of next week.
You heard DG, the haze and smoke let up a little bit today, at least enough to warrant some time outside. Also made for a great opportunity to head to Sloan's Lake and ask people for their Friday good news, as we have for 259 Fridays.
Sloan's Lake was always a place I can come to at certain times of the day and just sit back and relax.
My good news is that I started my small strawberry business. I make chocolate-covered strawberry arrangements. It's the smile I put on people's faces when I hand them the box.
My good news is I'm retired, got a motorcycle, get out and do what I want when I want and go for a ride.
My good news is that I have met my family, my biological family, at 45, and it's never been any better.
My partner and I had the day off and we were just deciding to have a good breakfast in the park. And me being ADHD and the most forgetful person in the world, lost my keys. We've just been looking for the past 10 minutes and this gentleman just came around the corner. It's like, hello, we found him. My good news is that me losing my keys was ultimately found by a stranger who still has some good heart.
My good news is that I've had this opportunity to eat lunch with my son, Alan. Just feel very thankful for that opportunity.
My good news is God will lead you to the most stillest and beautiful places on earth to show you how peaceful places can be. That's my good news.
Having been stuck inside for most of the pandemic, a lot of Coloradans are finding any excuse to get outside this summer.
Chris was like, hey, want to try the CTR on a tandem? And being cooped up in the house for so long, I was like, sure, great idea.
Sometimes that means coming up with ways to challenge yourself that not too many other people have thought of before. That's next. Last year was a struggle for a lot of people, but one couple in Westminster wanted to push their limits even further after spending a year cooped up during a pandemic. Our photojournalist Mike Grady caught up with them to hear about their latest adventure that tested them physically and strengthened their bond even more emotionally.
We've always enjoyed doing adventures together. I am Marnie Plesko. This is my husband, Chris.
We rode the Colorado Trail from Durango to Denver on a tandem mountain bike.
Together the whole time.
And as far as we know, we're the first people to ever do it. Right around 530 miles and somewhere close to 75,000 vertical feet of elevation gain. Took us 10 days, 13 hours, and 13 minutes to complete that.
I have never seen one of those before. That's a first. You know, it was new for a lot of people to see and experience. We heard divorce bike a lot.
Yeah, that's a big one.
We finished 2 days shy of our 17th wedding anniversary, so didn't hold true for us.
I have raced bikepacking races for quite a long time.
I've watched from the sidelines for so many years, and I thought I understood what was happening, and I truly had no idea.
Getting to experience those pieces together and make our own memories out there was just awesome, you know. Now when I say the word Sergeant's Mesa, she knows Sergeant's Mesa, right?
And just really getting to experience the really high highs and the low lows, but being with my very best friend. And he's going through the same feelings, and we're seeing the same things and freezing our butts off at the same time. And it was just a really cool experience that I really will forever treasure. So.
Chris and Marnie say they aren't sure if they'll do the Colorado Trail again on a tandem, but they'll have some other long cranks lined up down the road. Mike Grady says long cranks is something all the cool kids say, so we decided to say it too. Yelling 4 while you wait for the walk signal. That's the most Colorado thing we saw today, plus your feedback next. The most Colorado thing we saw today, a chance to work on your short game while you wait for the crossing signal. This little putt-putt golf hole was spotted earlier this week in Fort Collins. It's pretty funny. This is at Mountain and Sherwood. It's near Old Town. Love the little sign that says, not responsible for accidents or injuries, you know, like you'd see on houses along a golf course. You know, in case someone maybe pulls out a driver here and decides to like throw it off into traffic or something. Who knows? Finish with your feedback. I asked what you would want to bring back or save in Denver. Daniel says Falling Rock Tap House, which closed just a few weeks ago, sadly a victim of the pandemic. The DD Runs wrote White Fence Farm with 12 exclamation points. Kim says that she had dates at White Fence Farm, the best date memories in her 20s. She's in her 50s now. Lots of votes for Celebrity Sports Center, Skate City, and El Chapultepec. A lot of people want that. We'll see you next time.